Hello, welcome to another edition of Big Conversations with T. At TDMO. Today we have none other than Nathan IP, who is the MLA for Edmonton Southwest. He's also the official opposition critic for jobs, economy, and trade. Hello, MLA IP. How are you today, sir?
Hello, T. I'm really well, and it's great to see your smiling face as always. Great, wonderful to see you.
Yes, it's wonderful to see you too. So let's go back to election night. When you won this election, did you think you could win over a titan like Casey Madu?
Well, I have to say that the election, and a lot of my colleagues would attest to this as well. It's a very very um, grueling process, I would call it. You're basically all in, and for the 28 days leading up to the election, um, you're door knocking 12 hours a day. You have really really long days. I think towards the end, I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was just exhausted. But I'm incredibly proud of the efforts and the hard work of my team. I couldn't have done it without them. In fact, this victory belongs to them, the hundreds of volunteers that came out to volunteer for me, but for us, for the Alberta NDP, to support our movement. I think we won because of that. And as far as Mr. Madhu, for me, it was never about him. The election was never about him, but it was
Oh,
about
yeah.
what people wanted, which was change and a positive future for Alberta. So very, very proud that I'm able to serve with the Alberta NDP caucus.
So in the aftermath of the elections, did he call you to wish you congratulations, or you just heard from his chief of staff?
I have not heard from Mr. Madhu, but he did, on his Twitter message, I think offer me best wishes. So certainly there was acknowledgement there, but he no, I didn't hear from him personally.
Because so my understanding is that MLAs are somewhat like celebrities, and you are very popular amongst the women, white women, black women, all women, in around school settings because you were very closely affiliated with Edmonton's public schools. So I'm just wondering, has your life changed substantially from? I mean, now that your celebrity status is very well cemented, what does it feel like daily waking up to be MLA?
T, I need to have more conversations with you because, first of all, I've never been told I've been popular with the ladies or anybody, and now to be called a celebrity, wonderful, wonderful. You're just pumping my tires. I love it. I love it. Uh, it's an incredible honor and privilege to serve. Myself and my team, we knocked on uh, thousands and thousands of doors during the election, and we've heard from people about what they were worried about, what they were concerned about. And it's, when you talk to folks and they have such hope, and they see such hope in you, that's incredibly humbling. And so it's such an honor to be able to do what I do. Um, my life has changed a little bit in the sense that my schedule is a lot busier than perhaps before. Sort of. I mean, I did work two jobs before, and I was a school board trustee, so it was pretty busy before. But certainly, it's different in terms of the issues that I now deal with. The scope is different. Folks are obviously more aware of their MLA than perhaps their school board trustee. So yes, the profile has elevated. Um, there hasn't been a substantial change to my life. I would say that other than the busy schedule, I'm still committed and rooted in my community. But that's a great thing, and I'm deeply honored to be able to serve.
And of course, do you get time to go door knocking still?
I do. I haven't recently, but I will be on the doors very very soon. I think it's really important that elected representatives hear directly from their constituents, and door knocking is really one of the best ways to have conversations with people. So I intend to be on the doors very soon to hear from folks directly.
Yeah, you have a big event tonight concerning the
Mhm.
pension plan. What is the path? What are you hearing Albertans are saying to you?
The message from Albertans and from constituents is overwhelmingly against the UCP and Danielle Smith's plan to leave the CPP. I recently was at a seniors home, and all of them, virtually unanimously, every single person in that room could not understand why the government is proceeding with this proposal that really makes very little sense. I actually traveled to Medicine Hat to the town hall that we held there, and we're often seen the impression of the Alberta NDP is that we're not necessarily particularly popular in certain parts of Alberta, and what I would say is that is not what I saw in Medicine Hat. It was a packed room, and people were absolutely there to express their opposition to leaving the CPP, and their opposition to the UCP's government's approach on a lot of things, and the pension being one of them. And they simply don't trust Danielle Smith. So whether it's Medicine Hat or Southern Alberta, which I traveled to last week, or whether it's speaking to folks in my constituency, the message has been overwhelming. Albertans don't want this, and I think as the official opposition, we need to continue to not only oppose it, but prevent it from happening.
Okay, so Nathan, can I ask you a question? So, other than being official opposition, is there any, could your work actually impact policy? Like, if Albertans say they don't want this,
Mm.
must the provincial government actually listen to the body of research you would have done? Must they actually follow what you're opposing?
Well, we very strongly opposed this and voted against the bill when it was introduced in the House in the fall. So the Alberta Pension Act legislation that was passed, we opposed that unanimously. We in fact, when the UCP tried to limit debate, we tried to ensure that we could extend that time as much as possible and delay the piece of legislation. Unfortunately, of course, the government they have numbers on their side, so they have the majority, and so they're able to push through efforts to limit debate, and they ultimately passed the bill. So in that sense, we weren't successful in defeating the bill. However, with our advocacy efforts and our outreach efforts, speaking to thousands, in fact, tens of thousands of Albertans, whether through our survey or our town halls or our petition, we are raising this issue to a certain level of consciousness that where I think most Albertans now recognize that this is not this is something that needs to be vehemently opposed. And I think we've been quite effective in doing that. We've been quite effective in exposing the fact that the UCP will not meet with Albertans in person. They will not do meaningful consultation. They've only done some telephone town halls, and very, very few people were able to get through to ask genuine questions. And so we were able to expose some of the tactics the UCP has been using to try to just ram this through. So I think we've been quite effective in that regard. And sometimes the most effective tools isn't necessarily just in the legislature. It's also being able to work in partnership with Albertans.
I hear you. So as the opposition critic for jobs, economy, and trade, you must know already that there's a cost of living crisis, and the province needs to maybe even um, build more houses. So the 1 million people coming from within Canada can get better accommodations. As opposition critic,
Mm.
how does your role help make all these things happen?
I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Here, the government is talking about leaving the CPP when clearly there isn't a problem. Nobody has ever said that that's a priority for them, and nobody meaning Albertans. I haven't heard from Albertans that that's a priority. What I have heard and what my colleagues have heard is the cost of living has gone up, the prices of utility has gone up. There is a lack of affordable housing. People are worried about just so many things, from the lack of schools in Edmonton Southwest to the lack of doctors and the emergency room wait times. Those are the everyday problems that Albertans are worried about and focused on. And this government, rather than trying to address them, trying to do what's best for Albertans, they are it's a bit of a ruse. They're kind of focused on picking fights with Ottawa and using, in my opinion, legislation like this to sort of distract Albertans from the problems that the government should be facing and should be doing. So I think from that perspective, our role as official opposition in raising these issues and making sure that the attention is kept on the issues that everyday Albertans are worried about, like the things I've just mentioned, is a critical part of our role. And we're doing that every single day, whether it's talking to folks through town halls like we're going to be doing later this evening, or speaking to the media. We're going to make sure that we raise Albertans' voices and priorities.
Thank you, Nathan. I've got a question about the lack of, or the paucity of well-paying jobs. Is it your experience that the bulk of the jobs across this province are low income and low wage paying? Is it that I'm not looking right, or what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I don't know if I can make the generalization that the vast majority of jobs are not well paying. I think there is uneven growth in various sectors. And our economy is changing, our world is changing. I'll give you an example. We have fewer jobs in the oil industry now than we did in 2019, even though the oil industry is actually doing quite well, and the price of oil is relatively healthy. So, despite all of that, all of those other indicators that would often sort of be a good indicator of whether there is healthy job growth in that sector. Despite all of that, oil and gas jobs are down. So I think what that says to me is that our economy is evolving, it's shifting, and I think we, as a province, and particularly the role of government, we need to look at how we can build an economy of the future. That will certainly include oil and gas, because energy will continue to be important. But within the energy sector broadly, there's so much opportunity in renewable energy. So the 6-month ban on renewable energy projects by this government is short-sighted. It has cost us potentially tens of thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of investment. And that's not, I think, a good policy to move our economy to the future. So certainly in my role as the critic for jobs, economy, and trade, I'm going to highlight some of these, I'm going to call them policy deficits that the government currently has. We need to approach our economy differently, and we need to make sure that there are good paying jobs for Albertans everywhere, all over the province.
Okay, I'll say amen to that. So when we talk about economy of the future, does this include dismantling established systematic barriers affecting BIPOC communities?
I appreciate that you brought that up. Absolutely. We are a party that believes in equity, believes in inclusion, and in the previous term, MLA David Shepherd had introduced anti-racism legislation that would have established an anti-racism office that would have looked at, in a very intentional way, addressing some of the systematic barriers. So absolutely, we should be looking at job growth and from the lens of ensuring that it is equitable for everyone.
Okay, whilst that is, it sounds more like wishful thinking and so on and so forth. I'm just wondering, deep within Alberta NDP, how meaningful change, how we can find meaningful change in especially your areas, economy, jobs, trade. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering, in regards to BIPOC businesses, jobs for
Mhm.
BIPOC people and all people actually, what
Mhm.
more could opposition do to put that necessary pressure to
Mhm.
make sure we have well-paying jobs for all Albertans?
Mhm. Well, I think you've raised a really important issue. It's not a simple issue to address, but it is. I mean, there's certainly um, lots of different approaches that you could take. But I think for me, what's important is really speaking to stakeholders, speaking to folks from the BIPOC community to really understand what the needs are. In my previous role, when I worked for Edmonton Unlimited, which is the City of Edmonton's innovation agency, I did work with BIPOC entrepreneurs, and there were a number of different programs that were specifically designed to support underrepresented equity-seeking groups. And I think those programs make great impact. But we also need to look at a systemic level what other policies, resources we should implement to further support underrepresented, whether they're entrepreneurs or job seekers, other represented folks. So I think it's a much broader question that won't that I can't just sort of give you a soundbite in 10 seconds. I don't think that's would be meaningful to the conversation. But I think broadly speaking, what I would say is the important thing is listen and connect and consult with stakeholders. That's really the number one step for me.
Okay. Okay, excuse me. I accept. I got a press release from someone within your party um, um, telling us that Kathleen Ganley has received the nomination of, uh, has been endorsed actually by former Alberta NDP leader Raj Panu. And on, I mean, okay, so I'm segueing into the next leader here. I'm just wondering because you mentioned that it's the Alberta NDP, it's a party that believes in equity and inclusion. So is the party machinery then going to be supporting all the candidates, even as we now know from yesterday that Kathleen Ganley has put her hat in the ring?
Yeah. Former leaders and individuals are certainly free to do what they wish, and I'm actually not aware that Mr. Panu has endorsed Kathleen. Uh, that's certainly his prerogative. I think as a caucus, and in terms of the caucus structure and the party structure, um, the party is certainly remaining very neutral, and there are safeguards in place.
So Nathan, maybe I didn't say this press release was sent by a staffer. So I'm just
Oh,
wondering, is Kathleen Ganley the
yeah.
anointed representative
I,
now? Is everybody going to be supporting this nomination?
I don't think there's anyone who's anointed. There will be other candidates coming forward who have yet to announce, and I think many of us can guess who those folks are. But the race is just getting underway, and some candidates like Kathleen have decided to announce earlier. Others will announce later, and at this point we don't know who might actually still enter the race. The deadline to enter the race isn't until I think the middle of March or sometime in March. So we actually have some time to see how this race is going to shape up. What I can say is that we have 38 MLAs who are laser focused on the needs of priorities of Albertans. And while there's a leadership race underway, and we're going to have some really good conversations, the work doesn't stop. It doesn't pause. The MLAs who are not running into leadership, and even those who are, will still continue to work representing our constituents. So I'm really proud to be serving in this caucus. I'm looking forward to this conversation we're going to have over the next few months. But I think it is an opportunity for our party to rejuvenate, to bring new people into the party. It's a positive thing overall.
Absolutely. So which MLAs exactly are you expecting to toss their hats into the rings? And what problems might you envisage this new leader would need to immediately tackle to unify Alberta NDP?
Let me just say we're pretty united. There's such camaraderie in this caucus. I'm so proud to be part of it. We are very united. We're very supportive of one another. And even though there is a leadership race, we're actually not disuniting or fracturing at all. This is a process that we're going to go through, and we're going to have some really robust conversations about the future of our party, and that's a good thing. As far as folks coming together, we are already together, and we will continue to be together, to be focused really on the UCP and Danielle Smith. So looking forward to the race.
Do you have any preferred candidates right now who is getting up on your radar that you'll be throwing your support behind?
You know, I in a few days will be revealing that, and so stay tuned. But I'll certainly invite you to
I want to drop the hint right here.
but I'm not at liberty to say at this moment. But there is
some bones, Nathan.
there is somebody I'm supporting, and very proud to support this person. And in a few days, you'll find out who it is, and you'll be invited to that. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you in advance for the invitation. Let's talk about mental health. What do you do for your mental health when mental health? What do you do for it?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Being an MLA is not easy. You deal with at times some very serious and challenging issues, and it takes a toll. It takes a toll. Certainly, I've seen that with some of my colleagues around the houselessness issue that we've seen, and so mental health is really important. I'm very lucky to be part of a caucus where there is good support for one another. For me, I make sure that I have a really tight-knit circle of friends that lift me up, that keep me grounded, and I'll hang out with them every so often, and I'll go for walks, I'll read a book. So for me, I generally take care of my mental health through doing things that I like to do, and I'm pretty easy. So I'm pretty mellow. So I like to go for a walk or read a book, play some video games, watch some TV, simple stuff like that, and that makes me happy. Just take a break from thinking about or being engaged in politics is helpful.
Okay, you're a great sport, Nathan, and I do not love you anymore. You've been a fantastic guest. I want to thank you so very much for coming on to Big Conversations today.
Thank you so much, T. It's always great to chat with you, and never stop reaching out. We'll always love to hear from you, and I'm sure we'll chat again.
And for those who don't know, it's the ongoing joke. We still love you at LCC Media, and we appreciate that you always answer us when we call to you.